Okay, so let's unpack this because we've got a really fascinating uh, contradiction on our hands today.
A real case study.
Right. Imagine you're running this massive global company. You report earnings. You beat Wall Street's expectations on profit.
You beat them on revenue.
You beat them on revenue. Your engine is just humming along.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Your stock price just nosedives.
Yeah.
We're talking almost 7%.
Yeah, it's a classic good news, bad reaction scenario. But, when you look under the hood, it actually starts to make perfect sense.
And that's exactly what happened to the cybersecurity giant Palo Alto Networks this week with their Q2 2026 earnings. So our mission today is to figure out why. We've got the earnings report, the transcript from CEO Nikesh Arora, and a bunch of research on their massive new acquisitions. We're going to look at why a company that seems to be doing so well is getting punished, and more importantly, what their spending spree.
And it is a spree.
Yeah, we're talking nearly $5 billion in cash. What that tells us about the future of how we all protect the internet.
It tells us that the old playbook is, it's basically on fire. What we're seeing here is a legacy firewall company pivoting hard into an AI-first world.
An AI-first world.
They are betting the farm on this idea that humans, we just can't defend against cyber threats anymore.
Whoa, that's a heavy statement to kick us off.
Yeah.
Humans can no longer defend against threats. You really think we're at that point?
I do, and the data backs it up. We'll get into the specific numbers from their Unit 42 team later, but the sheer speed of attacks has just completely changed the geometry of the battlefield.
So if you're still relying on a human analyst to spot a breach...
You've already lost.
All right, well, before we get to all the doom and gloom, let's look at the financials. Just set the scene for us. They dropped their Q2 2026 numbers. Give us the headlines.
The headlines are, they're undeniably solid. Revenue came in at $2.59 billion. That's up 15% year over year. They beat on earnings per share, too. $1.03 versus the 94 cents that was expected. But, and this is the important part, if you really want to understand this company, you have to kind of ignore the top-line revenue for a second.
Why ignore the top line? Isn't revenue always the most important thing?
Not for a company that's in a major transition. You have to look at what they call their North Star metric.
Which is?
Next Generation Security ARR, so annual recurring revenue.
Right, because that total revenue number,
yeah,
that still includes the old hardware boxes they sell, right? The physical firewalls you screw into a server rack.
Exactly.
But the next-gen stuff, that's the software, the cloud security, the subscriptions. That's the future.
That is the growth engine. And that metric grew 33% to $6.3 billion.
Wow.
That's massive scale. And it shows their pivot from being a box seller to a software platform is actually working.
They also mentioned a hidden gem in the report.
Yeah.
Something about software firewalls and SaaS.
SaaS, yeah. Secure Access Service Edge. It's a terrible acronym.
It really is.
But it's a critical technology. It's basically the layer that secures all of our remote work and our cloud access. That segment alone just passed $1.5 billion in ARR, and it's growing at 40%. So operationally, the business is healthy.
Okay, so the engine is humming, the car is moving fast, the driver's confident, but then we look at the stock ticker, and it is flashing bright red.
Yep.
So why? If the numbers are this good, why is the market freaking out?
It's the sticker shock. Pure and simple. Investors just got spooked by the sheer amount of cash leaving the building.
From the acquisitions.
Right. Between acquiring CyberArk for identity security and Chronosphere for observability, plus all the financing involved, you're talking about a combined cash outlay of roughly $4.9 billion.
Nearly $5 billion. To play devil's advocate here, don't companies spend money to grow all the time? Why is this specific spend causing so much panic?
It's not just the money. It's the timing and the risk profile. First, interest rates are high, capital's expensive. Draining your war chest right now makes investors very nervous. But the bigger issue is what they call execution risk.
The I word, integration.
Exactly. History is just littered with hardware companies that tried to buy these big software companies, and it failed. It's incredibly difficult to merge the cultures, the tech stacks, the sales teams.
Right.
So investors look at that $5 billion and they don't just see growth. They see a massive potential indigestion problem. They worry management is going to get distracted just trying to glue these pieces together while the competition races ahead.
So the CEO, Nikesh Arora, he sees this as a necessary architectural bet to survive the AI era.
Mm-hmm.
But Wall Street sees it as a high-stakes gamble with the balance sheet.
That is the tension in a nutshell. And to really understand why Aurora is taking this bet, we have to look at their core strategy, which they call platformization.
Platformization. It sounds a little bit like corporate bingo, doesn't it?
It does, but you know what? They are taking it very, very literally. This is the central thesis of their entire business. For years, the cybersecurity industry has been incredibly fragmented.
Oh, yeah. You'd buy a firewall from one vendor, endpoint protection from another, cloud security from a third. A typical big company might have 7 or 8 different security vendors.
Which just sounds like a nightmare to manage. You've got 7 different dashboards, 7 different support numbers to call.
It is a logistical nightmare, but even more importantly, it creates security gaps. These tools just don't talk to each other fast enough.
And that's where the speed comes in.
And that's where the Unit 42 research, that's Palo Alto's threat intel team, comes in with some, frankly, terrifying data. They found that end-to-end attacks are now 4 times faster than they were just 1 year ago.
4 times faster. That's a massive jump in 12 months.
It's exponential. And get this, in nearly 25% of cases, attackers can break in, find what they want, and steal the data in under 1 hour. Under an hour. So let's say I'm a security analyst. I go to grab a coffee. By the time I get back to my desk, the bad guys have already broken in, stolen the crown jewels, and they're gone.
You wouldn't even have gotten your coffee yet.
Oh.
By the time the alert from vendor A makes it to the dashboard of vendor B, the attackers have vanished. Humans literally cannot bridge the gap between these fragmented tools fast enough.
So that's the pitch.
That's the pitch. Nikesh Arora said that 90% of breaches were preventable. They happened because of these basic gaps in visibility.
So the strategy is to convince customers to dump all those other vendors, stop patching together this Frankenstein monster of security tools, and just go all in on Palo Alto. Is that actually working?
The data suggests it is. They reported 110 net new platformizations this quarter. That's a record for a Q2 for them.
Yeah.
They now have about 1,550 customers who've consolidated onto their platform.
They highlighted a couple of big wins in the earnings call that caught my eye. There was a global automotive leader, a $50 million deal.
Right. And a global technology supplier who signed a $40 million deal. And the key thing about those deals isn't just the dollar amount.
It's the commitment.
It's that these companies aren't just buying a product. They are making an architectural decision. They're saying, we are going to trust Palo Alto to run our entire security stack.
But that trust requires Palo Alto to actually have the entire stack. You can't have any holes in your game if you're making that promise.
Exactly.
And that brings us right back to the spending spree. The acquisitions of CyberArk and Chronosphere.
This is where all the puzzle pieces start to fit together. If you believe in platformization, you have to own the most critical battlegrounds.
Okay, let's start with CyberArk. This is a huge player in identity security. What, about $1.2 billion in ARR?
Yeah, they're a giant.
But we've been hearing identity is the new perimeter for a decade. Why buy them now? Why not just partner with them like they used to?
Because the very nature of identity has fundamentally shifted. It used to just be about verifying that you are who you say you are when you log in. But now it's about AI.
How does AI change a simple login process?
Well, Nikesh Arora said something really important on the call. He said, when AI agents start logging in at machine speed, logging in becomes a primary attack vector.
Okay, let's stop and really think about that. AI agents logging in. So we are not just talking about Bob from accounting forgetting his password or clicking on a phishing link.
No, not at all. We're talking about autonomous software AI agents that act like employees. They log into systems, they move data around, they execute tasks.
And if a hacker compromises one of those identities?
They can use an AI agent to move through your network at lightning speed, testing thousands of doors a second. The firewall sees the network traffic, sure, but it doesn't necessarily know who, or more importantly, what is behind that traffic.
So by owning CyberArk?
By owning it, they want to fuse the who, the identity, with the what, the network. They want to verify the identity and secure the network traffic at the exact same moment in real time. It's the only way you can hope to catch an AI agent that's gone rogue.
That makes perfect sense. It's like merging the ID badge with the security guard so they're the same person. Okay, so what about the second acquisition, Chronosphere?
Chronosphere is all about observability.
I always struggle with this term. Observability just sounds like developer jargon for checking the logs. Why is this a security problem?
Think of it this way. Traditional security, it watches the front door and the windows. It keeps people out. Observability is like having X-ray vision for the plumbing inside the walls.
Okay, I like that image.
Historically, security didn't really care about the plumbing. But AI creates a massive, massive data scale problem. You've got millions of transactions, and you have AI generating code that spins up, runs for a second, and then just disappears. If you're blind to the internal workings of your cloud apps, the plumbing, you can't protect them.
So the logic is CyberArk handles identity.
Right.
Palo Alto handles prevention.
Mm-hmm.
And Chronosphere handles the visibility.
Correct. It's a three-legged stool. Prevention, identity, visibility. If you're missing one of those legs, the whole thing falls over. And Chronosphere isn't a small player either. They mentioned a 9-figure expansion deal with a leading AI model provider.
Which tells you their tech can handle the insane scale of the biggest AI companies in the world.
Exactly.
Speaking of AI, let's dive into what I think is the most interesting part of this whole story. The AI paradox. This was a huge theme of the earnings call. On one hand, AI is the biggest threat we've ever seen.
And on the other, it's the only solution. It's the classic arms race.
So on the threat side, what are we talking about?
The attack surface is just exploding. We have shadow AI, where employees are using AI tools the IT department doesn't even know about. We have browser extensions stealing data. And we have something they're calling ephemeral code.
Ephemeral code. That sounds like something out of a spy movie. Break that down for us.
Imagine a burglar who wants to rob your house. But instead of picking the lock on the front door, he builds a ladder out of thin air, climbs into a second-story window, steals your stuff, and then, poof, the ladder just dissolves into dust.
So there's no evidence he was ever there.
That's ephemeral code. Developers are using AI coding assistants like Codex or Cursor. The AI generates code, it spins up a temporary server or an environment to run it, and then it just shuts it all down.
And traditional security tools that are just scanning your hard drive, they'd never even see it.
They'd never see that code existed. But a hacker could use that brief window, that temporary ladder, to get in. And to address this, they mention an intent to acquire another company, a small one called Koi.
Right, Koi.
They focus on what's called the agentic endpoint, basically securing that messy area where the browser meets the device and AI assistants are just writing and executing code on the fly.
So that's the threat.
Yeah.
But Palo Alto is also selling AI as the ultimate defender. They kept mentioning precision AI and their platform XXIM.
Right, and XAM is their AI-driven security operations platform. It's been a massive hit. They've got, over 600 customers now? But the stat that really, it just blew me away was what they called the magic stat.
Okay,
was 60% of their XAM customers. 60%. They now have a mean time to remediation, so how long it takes to fix a hack of less than 10 minutes.
10 minutes. That is just incredible.
Yeah.
Before this, what was the standard?
Days. Sometimes weeks. Going from days to 10 minutes is a complete paradigm shift. It's the difference between putting out a small kitchen fire and rebuilding a house that's burned to the ground.
And they're pushing it even further.
Yeah, with something called Cortex Agentix.
Agentix. They really do love their sci-fi names. Is this just marketing fluff, or is there real tech here?
There's real tech. Think of Agentix less like a superhero and more like an automated immune system for your company.
An immune system.
Right. So right now, if a laptop gets infected, a human analyst gets a ticket. They open a dashboard, they check logs, maybe they ping the user, and then they isolate the device. That takes 30 minutes if you're really fast.
If you're lucky.
Right. Agentix detects that anomaly, and it isolates the device in milliseconds before the ticket is even generated. It detects the virus and just kills it automatically.
And that is the AI versus AI battle we talked about in the intro. If the bad guys have AI agents trying to break in, you need your own AI agents to kick them out.
Humans are just spectators at that point. Precisely. And that's why security is shifting from being a blocker, something that slows you down, to being an enabling layer. You literally can't run a modern AI company safely without AI security.
This all sounds incredibly futuristic and, frankly, a bit inevitable. But let's bring it back down to earth. We have the ambitious strategy, the cool tech, but we also have the risks. We mentioned the stock drop. Beyond the integration headaches, what else could go wrong?
Well, the guidance for fiscal 2026 revenue is projected between 11.28 and 11.31 billion. That's good growth, but it's not, explosive. And the cash impact is very real. Spending $4.9 billion, it drains the war chest.
So the economy turns, they have less of a buffer.
Exactly. And they also mentioned supply chain issues, specifically with memory and storage pricing. Hardware costs are creeping up.
Right.
Palo Alto says their shift to software acts as a hedge against that, which is true software has better margins, but they do still sell physical firewalls. If components get more expensive, that's going to eat into profits.
There's one other risk, or maybe it's an opportunity, that they touched on. It feels very sci-fi, but apparently it's already a board-level discussion. Quantum computing.
Yeah, and this is actually the strongest argument for their entire platformization strategy, even though it feels so distant. The threat is called Harvest Now, Decrypt Later.
Which means?
Hackers are stealing encrypted data today. Stuff they can't read yet because our current encryption is too strong. But they're just storing it on servers, waiting.
Waiting for what?
Waiting for quantum computers to become powerful enough to break that encryption in a few years.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
So even if your data is locked up tight in a safe, if someone steals the whole safe today, they just have to wait for a powerful enough drill to be invented.
That's the idea. And here's why this matters for Palo Alto's strategy. If you have 50 different security vendors, how on earth do you upgrade the encryption across all of them when the quantum era finally hits?
You can't. It would be an absolute logistical nightmare.
Right, you'd have to patch 50 different systems. But if you're on a single platform, if you are platformized, Palo Alto just flips one switch centrally and your entire company becomes quantum resistant overnight. That's the big pitch.
So bringing this all together, we have a company that is fundamentally changing its DNA. They are moving from we sell firewalls to we run your entire security architecture with AI.
That's the summary. They are betting that the future of security is a three-legged stool: platformization, AI-driven automation, and identity. And they are willing to endure a stock drop and spend billions to own all three of those legs.
So for our listeners, for the learner out there, if you take one thing away from this deep dive, it should probably be this. The era of humans staring at screens to find hackers is over. We have crossed the Rubicon. It is now AI versus AI, and speed is the only metric that really matters.
I would agree with that completely.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. Nikesh Arora said, old security playbooks are obsolete, and it makes you wonder about the job title security analyst. If the AI is spotting the breach and the AI is fixing the breach,
then what is the human doing? They're just the auditor, or maybe the architect.
Exactly. We're moving toward a world where security isn't a department you call when you have a problem.
Right.
It's just becoming a fundamental property of the infrastructure itself, like voltage is to electricity. You don't have a voltage department that goes around checking every outlet manually.
It's just part of the grid. Or maybe the infrastructure is the security team. It's a convergence we haven't quite seen yet, but we are heading there fast.
Something to think about next time you log in, or rather, next time your AI agent logs in for you. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you on the next one.